Hello, my name is Yaravi Sandoval and I'm a student in TecMilenio University. Today, I will talk about the Cold War. We refer to the Cold War as a period in history beginning at the end of the 40s and running through approximately 1989 or 1991. The defining characteristic of this period was the facing between two world superpowers that dominated the world by the end of the World War II, the United States and the United Soviet Socialist Republic. Next, I'm going to list the 10 dates that, in my opinion, were the most outstanding during this period. June 26, 1948, Berlin blockade and airlift. June 1950, Korean War. October 4, 1957, a space race. May 1, 1960, U-2 reconnaissance plane. April 17, 1961, Bay of Pigs. August 12, 1961, Reagan visits the wall. October 1962, Cuban Missile Crisis. November 1969, Strategic Arms Limitation Talks. December 1979, Soviets invade Afghanistan. And last, November 9, 1989, Germany was reunited. Anyways, you should be asking why is this conflict called Cold War? Well, this term refers to a war without bloodshed. There was no struggle except an arduous competition over who of the two powers commanded. There were economic systems participating in this conflict. The first one was the capitalism. It is defined as the economic system based on private ownership of the means of production and their operation for profit. This creation is attributed to Karl Marx as long as the socialism. This theory is about social organization that advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole. Next, I will interview the engineer Alejandro Adrián Sandoval Rivera. He is 48 years old and his relation with me is to be my father. Good night, Alejandro. How are you this beautiful night?
Fine.
Well, I'm going to ask you some questions about a topic that is the Cold War. Okay?
Yes.
Well, the first question here is, why do you think is it called the Cold War?
The Cold War was a state and geopolitical tension after World War II between powers in the Eastern Bloc, the Soviet Union and its satellite states, and powers in the Western Bloc, the United States, its NATO allies, and others. Historians do not fully agree on the dates, but a common time frame is the period between 1947, the year the Truman Doctrine, a USA foreign policy pledging to aid nations threatened by Soviet expansionism was announced, and either 1989, when communists fell in Eastern Europe, or 1991, when the Soviet Union collapsed. The term "cold" is used because there was no large-scale fighting directly between the two sides, but they each supported major regional wars known as proxy wars.
What were the powers that faced each other?
The Western Bloc, represented by the Soviet Union, and the Eastern Bloc, represented by the United States.
What gave end to the Cold War?
Came to an end when the last war of the Soviet occupation ended in Afghanistan. The Berlin Wall came down in Germany, and a series of mostly peaceful revolutions swept the Soviet bloc states of the Eastern Europe in 1989.
And finally, what is your opinion about this conflict?
From my point of view, the Cold War that was lived in those years is only part of the life cycle on the world powers. I think that in the future there will be another time where the same conditions would arise, maybe with the same powers or perhaps with new powers that appear. I'll talk at the present. We see that the power of nations is not reflected in the military aspect, but in the economic, a silent war that even the smallest countries can win territorially, such as the case from Japan.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. This will be all.
You're welcome.